First of all, an update on Sanderberger and Jack O'Connell. How are they getting in their respective rehabs at the minute?
Yeah, Xander obviously had an operation on his tendon and his hamstring, so he's really in early part of his recovery, and Jack is on a mini break at the moment because he's worked extremely hard, but not for long. He's back with us, and then he'll crack on, and hopefully the sight of Jack O'Connell up at Shirecliffe will be a fabulous boost to us all.
You've talked a little bit about the COVID situation with the positive tests. Just how much has that sort of disrupted training and preparations for these games over the festive period?
This is what happens in professional football. You know, things come out the blue, and you have to adapt and react. You know, it's not straightforward. It's not straightforward in terms of selection, injuries, illnesses. I've had it for a long time, so I'm used to it. So it's how you react and to the various situations that go on in the day-to-day running of a football club and the life of a football manager. So ideally we'd like 25 players to playing at the top of the game, the sun shining, the rolling the ball across the pitch, and everybody at full tilt and playing the best football that they can play. But at the moment, as you've seen, that's not happening, and you know, obviously, you know, major injuries to big players is hugely challenging for us.
You know, I appreciate that there's regular illness issues and injury issues, but the situation at the moment does seem to be that there's extra players missing from various squads, with potentially fixtures now piling up with very limited time to reschedule them. Is there potential a bit of a fairness or integrity issue with the Premier League and the competition that you see going forward?
We'll play with a straight bat, Adam. We're not a big hitter in this division. We're not one of the big boys. We'll play with a straight bat, and we'll do as we're told, and stick to that, and try not to cause anybody any problems, and take advice from the Premier League, what they tell us to do, and hopefully they'll tell all the other 20 clubs that are in the competition at the same time to adhere to the same rules and regulations, and that's what we'll do, as we did on Tuesday, where we had a couple of positive tests and a couple of boys that were showing symptoms. As I said, we took them, did the right thing, informed the Premier League. Unfortunately, these boys, we don't want these boys to catch this disease, whatever it's talked about, illness, and they want them to be fit and healthy, because I think everybody knows what it does to you and how it affects you, and certainly I've had close up information regarding, you know, quite a few of our staff who have had it and how they've been affected by it, and I think we've all got that story that's been told to us, but we'll do what's right in the eyes of the Premier League, and go from there.
And of course, all our best wishes are with those people that are affected by it, Chris.
Thanks.
In terms of incomings, I know you've said you wanted to try and move as quickly as possible in the transfer window. What is the likelihood that we will see at least one, if not a couple of new faces next week?
From my point of view, and the recruitment department, we've passed them on, and now it's at a level above me. So I would like to, and we do need, in my opinion, which I've always done to make the group better, and basically over to the chief exec and the board, for them to make that decision, or to pursue the targets that we're looking at and the positions that we're looking at.
Is there potentially the situation on the field that are going to make it harder to get some of your top recruits in?
Sorry, Adam, I didn't understand that.
So in terms of your top targets this January, is the situation where you are in the league table and the position that you're in, do you think that will make it more difficult to land those top targets?
I think from a foreign point of view, yes, most certainly. I think from a domestic point of view, not necessarily. because I believe that domestically, if we do bring a player in on loan, then he will understand the team maybe a little bit more, and understand and look at the stats. And of course, the one stat that isn't pleasing on the eye is the points total, but the other stats in terms of subjectively and objectively how we've played and how close we've been to wins. Those players will have nothing to lose. If the player comes in to Sheffield United, he comes in as a loan signing. He doesn't come in as a permanent signing. He doesn't tie himself into the club long term. So obviously, what potentially might happen if we don't pick up results, and he's got nothing to lose, and he's got everything to gain in affecting the team's performance, because we want to bring players that come into the team straight away to affect the results. And I should imagine that the player's ambition as a lone player would be to play as many games between now and the end of the season. So that will be an attractive one, I believe, domestically. Maybe not so in the foreign market. And obviously, to bring the two players in, we've got one domestic loan available and obviously a foreign loan available.
Chris Basham, if selected this weekend, makes his 300th appearance for Sheffield United. I mean, in the modern era, that's quite remarkable anyway. Just what can you say about Chris Basham in terms of the service that he's given to the club?
Yeah, I can't speak highly enough of Bash as a person and as a player. And I think I put the TV on a couple of days ago, and there's a rerun of the Swindon Sheffield United game in the playoff semi-final where Bash arrives, and obviously he's done that a couple of times to great effect. But he's just a modern day manager's dream player, that he gets on with it, he gives everything, he's come through in the journey. He's played that position, he's played it ever so well. He'll pop himself into midfield. He'll do whatever that he needs to be done to help this football club. And he's been brilliant for me. And his performances have come through into the Championship, into a promotion-winning season, and his performances last year. And I think everybody on the inside of this football club knows what Bash is about, and he's such a funny boy as well, just a genuine kid and a genuine character, and one that I've really loved working with in my time here at the football club.
How important are people like Chris Basham to the club when you're bringing younger players in, as you've signed this season, and just trying to work with them and give them that sort of bit of guidance around the squad when potentially you or Alan or somebody else isn't there? Yeah,
definitely. They, as you can imagine, the amount of time that they spend on the training ground and the amount of time that they spend in the change room and on coaches and in hotels far outweighs what the time that they spend with me. So it's important that you've got really good senior players, and I've got the likes of David McGoldrick and Bash, who are brilliant role models, who are selfless in their approach, and want to help and want to do well. Of course, individually themselves. Let's not forget. The two boys possibly would not be thinking that 2 or 3 years ago that they would be playing in the Premier League, and they're doing it, and they're great additions to our group. But to have the likes of those two guys about to influence, and yet our recruitment is young this year, and I'm not embarrassed about that, and it is tough for the young boys when they're going through these periods at the moment, and we all have loved the young players to have learnt their trade in better circumstances, but they have to get on with it, and they'll get plenty of encouragement for the likes of Jags and David McGoldrick and Bash.
Thoughts on Crystal Palace? 1 win in 8, but some good draws against Leicester and Spurs recently. Bit of a mixed bag from them over recent weeks.
Yeah, I think there was a stat there, last year that Crystal Palace are not finished in the top 10. So how difficult this league is, because they're an established Premier League club, not finishing in the top 10 for a number of seasons. So that's how hard it is. in this division. You've got a fabulous manager, experienced guy, got some really good players, experienced players that we're coming up against, established players, internationals, some really good players at the top of the pitch, and it's always a tough encounter when you play them. 2 really tight games last year, and this is what we're talking about. You're talking about the 11 out of the 14 games this year that we've been on the receiving end. I look at both of those games last year, and all 3 results could have happened. The game down there, our first home game, was a fabulous occasion, and we nicked a tight game 1-0, and we went down there and the goalkeeping error, and we hung on for a 1-0 victory. And this is what it's all about. This is how tight the division is, and Crystal Palace, year in, year out, get the job done, and Roy gets the job done, and he deserves an enormous amount of credit, and the players do, because they're a really solid, established Premier League club, and deservedly so.
You've mentioned how hard the last year has been in various aspects. Can you see yourself still managing in 20 years' time, like Roy's doing?
Absolutely not. I don't know how he does it. And I said in the week about Sean and what he's done at Burnley, gone in there and obviously had got promoted, then had a disappointing season, and then come roaring back. And how difficult it is at the elite level of football. So for the likes of somebody like Roy to manage, and I've said it all along, in different countries, managed his country, managing the Premier League, won things, achieved things, and relatively achieving now still at an experienced age, I would say, but. A really nice guy, and I think he knows how tough the job is, and for him to come through and still be managing the Premier League, it shows enormous qualities on a lot of fronts.
In terms of the gap at the bottom, just finally from me, Chris, I mean, while ever West Brom have only got 1 win, Fulham and Brighton have got a couple of wins, there are still teams in touch, and while ever that's the case, is that the belief that you've just got to hang on to them and try and get that?
Absolutely. We got to start chipping away at it. Of course, we understand that. We're not going to chip away at it if we lose tight games. We've got to come out on the other end of those tight games, as I've talked about today. But you keep chipping away at it, and it's what a dozen at the moment over a period of January, February, March, April, May, 4.5 months. 4.5 months. So you can chip away at it, but you've got to start chipping away at it, and that's got to be our aim. And you've seen what happens with a couple of back-to-back wins. It changes everything, and obviously to get that first one on the board is one that we're desperately trying to do, and then we'll work off that.